death spiral.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
I just don't know how these teams extract themselves from where they're at right now. Dolphins and Cardinals paid the wrong quarterback. They want to move on from him. That's going to be expensive. The Browns really paid the wrong quarterback and still don't know what they're doing. And the Jets, I did a lot of research on this, still the Jets. And so I just don't know how those teams extract themselves from their situations. One playoff team? Odds are yes among these 6.
Yeah.
That one of them gets it. The Saints got hot at the end of the year. The Titans hope they can follow a poor man's version of what the Patriots just did. Defensive second-time head coach, second-year quarterback taken super high, building off the year. The Steelers were in the playoffs last year, fired the coach. We know the story there. Vikings, this is a big year for KOC, man. He got a lot of quarterback whisperer stuff for, wow, look what he got out of Sam Darnold. Now all of a sudden Sam Darnold's like, I got that out of myself, maybe.
Yeah.
And so
That's interesting. So let's say J.J. McCarthy struggled in.
Yeah.
I would think they'd be crazy to get rid of KO.
I'm not saying he's on the hot seat. What I'm saying is part of he's been to the playoffs a couple times, lost both times. I think both.
Well, his playoffs, yeah.
Right.
His playoff
And so,
record is
but
good.
his claim to fame is quarterback whisperer. Oh, J.J. McCarthy ain't deaf. Like, say some
I would
sweet
think
nothings
they
in his
blame
ear.
McCarthy.
Las Vegas Raiders, #1 pick, new head coach, and the Giants, who are going to be a very trendy pick, and I get it. Division seems maybe up for grabs a bit, depending on what you think of Philly and people like Harbaugh. Their fans believe, and that's worth something. Fans of all 3 of these teams think we're going to the playoffs. The Falcons finished 8-9 for like the 4th time in 5 years. The moment they were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, they're going to be the best team in football. The Panthers made the playoffs and won the division. And the Colts, like, we were cooking, and our quarterback got hurt. They hope, obviously, assuming he's back and signed, they have to sign him and he has to be healthy, but their fans believe. Anxious offseason. Philly, Washington, Tampa. And that offseason will lead to, I think, an anxious regular season. I think in Philly, there's real concern. Is Lane Johnson going to retire? And how, what does that mean for us? Are we going to trade A.J. Brown? This whole new coaching staff. Washington, I think in the national media, we're just like, oh, Jaden's injuries, man. But it was more than just the quarterback got hurt. That defense that was an older defense looked old this year, and they fell far from, obviously, the unbelievable 2024 season for them. And Tampa, I thought Tampa could be this year's Seahawks. Not win the Super Bowl, but get there. A team that had been consistently, 8, 9, 10 wins, not necessarily front of the marquee brand, but similar quarterback story, great wide receiver, those things. And instead, Tampa collapsed at the end of last year. And now I think everybody, whether it's Baker on it, am I ever going to get that actual star quarterback contract? Todd Bowles got it. He goes into the year maybe on the hottest seat other than Aaron Glenn. They're actually the same. Bengals and the Cowboys. They both have owners that are a hindrance to winning. They both have statistically prolific quarterbacks. They both have excellent and insanely expensive, or soon to be insanely expensive, wide receiver duos. They both have a defensive plan of, probably won't be worse, huh? Am I right? Probably. It probably won't be worse, guys. Just enough to make you believe. Lions, Rams, Chargers, Texans. Lions, we know what the talent is. We also know for different reasons the defense or the team has kind of stumbled down the stretch the last 2 years. The Niners, I mean, they damn near had the 1 seed with all those injuries last year. The Chargers, have you seen the most yards in NFL history through 6 years? It's still Justin Herbert's. Have you seen the throws he makes in September and October in the rushing bats?
And don't count the summer, too.
Yeah, no doubt. Texans, D'Amico and the defense, they are one of 2 teams in the NFL, along with Buffalo, to have won a playoff game in each of the last 3 seasons. That's the full list, I believe. However, deep down, I think all of us feel like, man, Dan Kimball was right. The Lions' best chance was 2 years ago in the NFC Championship game. And the Niners are always going to be injured. And the playoffs are going to still be a thing that happens at the end of the regular season for Herbert. And what's going on with C.J. Stroud since the lecture led to losing? Was it a fluke? Either direction is the question. Was the 2025 season a fluke? Is the question both of these teams have. The Patriots obviously are hoping the answer is no, while the Ravens are hoping the answer is yes. The Patriots are like, no, it's not a fluke. We're building on that, and we're maybe not going to win more than 14 games, but we're here to stay. The Ravens like, man, our quarterback suffered a handful of different injuries. He and the coach, whatever, we're going to be back. Flip side for the Patriots is easiest schedule in 25 years to what looks like a pretty tough one. For the Ravens, mobile quarterback all of a sudden who's now not either been in or available for the playoffs 3 of the last 5 years. Is it on, is this 2025 more of what's to come? JV Seahawks Rams, who they hope to become the varsity this year. These teams played 3 games this year. They were all 3 epics. They all 3 came down to the wire. The team that won the first and lost the last 2, including in the playoffs. And they hope that the NFC North can be next year, this past year's NFC West, that they can be the 2 front label teams, if you will, and fight each other out not only for divisional supremacy, but conference supremacy. Finally, the Hunters, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now I get it. You make 7 straight conference championship games, you win the most games in the league, you play the most games, you do all this, and you have one bad year that was not simply due to the quarterback being hurt. They were bad before the quarterback got hurt, and all of a sudden, a 30-year-old quarterback in his prime, who is universally accepted as, at worst, the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time, they're old news. Not sure why, not sure the argument for it, but I do know this. They are no longer the hunted. They are the hunters. I'm excited for it. Because people like all these teams better than them. Question is, though, can they break through? They all had a chance this playoffs without the Chiefs there, without the Ravens there. I'd say without the Bengals there, but the Bengals are never there. Can they, this year, finally, for the Broncos, make the first Super Bowl in 30 or 28 years? For the Bills, in more than 40 years? For the Jags, ever? Closer than you thought. So here's what I mean. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles played the Los Angeles Rams in the playoffs. The Rams were down less than a score in the red zone in the final moments of the game for a chance to beat the Eagles. They failed on a 4th down, and the Eagles then curb stomped their way to a championship. This year, the Los Angeles Rams were in the red zone, down less than a score against the Seattle Seahawks in the final moments. They didn't get it, and the Seahawks then curb stomped the Patriots in the Super Bowl. The Rams have been maybe a play away from not only winning a playoff game, but beating a team that no one else came close to. And what you guys demanded, or Wilds demanded, and you guys foolishly agreed with them on, like, yeah, Mahomes Mountain. Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl. This should be a top. That's not how that works. For tiers, however, it of course does. The champs. The Seahawks are literally the champs, and they don't have their quarterback retiring. They don't have major guys we expect to leave. They're atop the tiers. Greg?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Putting Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott, both statistically prolific quarterbacks or something like that. Oh my gosh. It's just, oh gosh. We always got to say all the right things to make sure that we get those Dallas Cowboys fans, that fan base, real happy. Let me tell you right now. I'm going to plant this flag right now. The Saints, the Raiders, and the Titans are all going to take massive steps forward. Massive steps forward. Really excited. Especially the Saints. Shuck and Kellen Moore. Be on the lookout for that. Big time. The Falcons, I don't know, man. I'm a believer in the Falcons and what Stefanski's going to do. But the health of that roster, some unfortunate, really terrible things that are going on off the field there, which I'm not going to get into. That's going to be a loss. I mean, I can't see that going in any positive direction for the Falcons. So I don't know what to make of that. With the Colts, the injury, Daniel Jones, it does seem like even though you can recover from an Achilles and whatnot, it doesn't seem like, okay, now that you're recovered and on the field, now you're just perfect. Like, it seems like it does take a little bit of time. I believe in Shane Steichen tremendously and what the Colts have built there. But yeah, I don't know what the story is with Daniel Jones right now. So that just becomes very difficult. I absolutely positively loved what I saw out of Bryce Young. You want to talk about being so close to beating a team or this or that? That was the Panthers against the Rams. So we can always boil things down to one play. We can always do that. But I mean, I absolutely loved what the Carolina Panthers were able to do. I see a ton of growth and poise. When you look at all the quarterbacks that played in the playoffs this season, Bryce Young was one of the best and one of the most comfortable, most poised. Like, he was ready for the moment. No question about it. No question about it. The Bucs. You thought they were going to be able to beat the Seattle Seahawks. The only difference is that their coaching isn't as good on both sides of the ball, and their roster isn't as good, and their quarterback isn't as good. That's why the team that won the Super Bowl, and that's why the team that didn't make the playoffs didn't make the playoffs. Just saying. I took a lot of heat all season long for saying that I didn't think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to win the Super Bowl, and that Baker Mayfield shouldn't be the MVP, and that the Seattle Seahawks were actually a great team, and that Sam Darnold was actually a great quarterback. Who won the Super Bowl? I forget. The Commanders, they do seemingly need I don't want to say a rebuild, but like, I've not been impressed with what Dan Quinn has done, especially defensively. You talk about some of the issues that they had that wasn't just Jane Daniels being injured, but other important players were injured. The run game was injured. Debo was injured. Terry McLaurin was injured. You're relying on Zach Ertz, who is old, and then he got injured. And Jaden Daniels, obviously, injured. So when you have that many injuries and you have, a young quarterback like that, it's too much of a mess to have any type of strong predictions, honestly. And now a new OC who has no coaching experience at all, that makes me uncomfortable. So we will see. It is so funny to downplay the Philadelphia Eagles, right? When you were putting them below the Bengals and the Cowboys and the Packers and the Bears, essentially all the teams that actually matter. In Nick's eyes, right? In Nick's eyes, all the teams that are above the Eagles are the teams that actually matter. Any of the teams that below them, he doesn't take the Falcons seriously. He doesn't take the Panthers seriously. He doesn't take the Steelers seriously. You know what I'm saying? So, like, he essentially has, for all intents and purposes, the Eagles at the bottom. If you said, Nick, from their fans believe below, do you think any of those teams are legitimately going to do anything? He would say no. So he's got the Eagles at essentially the bottom. And it's just so funny because he's like, oh, the Kansas City Chiefs made the conference championship game 7 years in a row, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, the Eagles have been consistently great for decades. For literally decades. You don't like the stat that I always say, how they have the second most playoff wins in the last 26 years since 2000? Fine, I won't use that. How about, since Patrick Mahomes was drafted, they have won 2 Super Bowls with 2 completely different rosters. You're like, oh, is Lane Johnson going to retire? Is he going to retire? You said the same nonsense about Kelsey when Kelsey retired, and you were like, oh, they're not going to be able to overcome this. Silly me thinking that the Eagles' O-line is going to take a step back after losing one of the greatest centers ever. Well, silly you is right, because they ended up winning the Super Bowl. And then you're like, silly me for doubting that Fangio and Kellen Moore are going to be able to fix this offense and defense. You're right. You're right. Kellen Moore led that offense to being absolutely insane, and Fangio absolutely, in your words, destroyed and humiliated the Kansas City Chiefs. So that coordinator's still there. That defense is still going to be great. And silly me for thinking that a great up-and-coming offensive mind who the NFL has universally praised as being an awesome offensive mind in the NFL, the Eagles got and are now transforming that coaching, that coaching, what's the word I want to use? coaching perspective, philosophy, whatever. Silly me for thinking that also Harry Roseman will be able to find a way to find a Mailata, a Dickerson, a Juergens, silly me for thinking that the team that's one of the best run teams in the NFL will be able to find ways through it. When in 21 they made the playoffs. In 22 they made the Super Bowl. And they were just a play away. Again, according to Nick, they were just a play away from winning. And then in 23 made the playoffs. 24 won the division, won the Super Bowl. 25 with bad coaching and an injured O-line won the division, made the playoffs. But yet now they're going to essentially be the worst team for relevant teams. You know what? In Nick's also words, finally the Hunters. I'm excited for it. I mean, listen, man, who can predict anything about the Bengals? Let's be serious here. Who can predict anything about the Bengals? Their health, Joe Burrow's health. It's just, if they're healthy, then they can be a great team. If they're not, then it's the exact same old story, same old story, same old story. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be exactly who they have been. I guarantee you. This is my guarantee. And you know what? If I'm wrong, we can cut this clip and we can make fun of me. I'll turn it into a short. They are going to be exactly who they've been every single year with Dak Prescott. They're going to win some games. They're going to have some amazing moments where he hangs 425 yards and 4 touchdowns. And we're like, oh, this is the most dangerous team in the NFL. Oh, my goodness gracious. They're amazing. Oh, my gosh. And it's going to be the exact same thing we've seen again and again and again. Blowing out the bad teams, kind of competitive against the good teams, maybe win, maybe lose. Definitely not on the level of the truly great teams. Maybe make the playoffs, maybe win in the wild card round. Oh, so close in the divisional round, not so much. It's going to be the same exact story again and again and again and again. There's no reason for that to change. Yes, I love how we keep making fun of the Chargers for Justin Herbert pulling a team to the playoffs that's clearly not good. I'm telling you right now, if that O-line is actually healthy, if the O-line is not the worst in the NFL, which it was this year, and it actually stays healthy going into the playoffs, and as long as the defense doesn't fall off a cliff now that they lost their defensive coach in Minter, with Mike McDaniel, Harbaugh, and Justin Herbert, and a legitimate O-line, this team is going to be great. This team will be better than the Kansas City Chiefs. The Houston Texans are a tricky one. They can't get their O-line right. Their O-line has also been awful. And you know what's so funny? Nick keeps making fun of CJ Stroud, and I actually plan on making this in a separate video, because he keeps making fun of CJ Stroud for talking to Caleb Williams and giving him words of encouragement. And he makes fun of it. And yet Sam Darnold himself learned from Brock Purdy at the point when Brock Purdy only played half a season. And yet when he was with Brock Purdy, he talked about how he learned a tremendous amount. And yet Sam Darnold had been in the NFL for way longer. But the humility that Sam Darnold had went a long way. And I remember when Caleb Williams had a workout with Brock Purdy, Nick made fun of Brock Purdy and said, oh, Brock Purdy can learn so much from Caleb. He was like, because how dare Caleb learn anything from Brock Purdy? I did the segment and I found the clip and I plan on making it, because you keep making fun of CJ Stroud for just being a good human being. And I find that insane. The Lions, to me, it still boils down to their coaching and coordinating. What can they do? I don't even think their coordinating was even really that terrible last year, but it was clearly not on the level when you went up against the great teams. And that's when coaching and play calling really matters the most. The bodies can get away with it, on the field when you're going up against the lesser teams. But if you're going up against even a team that's maybe not as great, but an awesome coach like Spags at that point, yeah, then your play calling has to be dialed in. And it simply was not. And so they still have to prove, their ability to do that. Not unlike the Eagles as well, honestly, And then, yeah, the Ravens and the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to continue to take steps forwards and be great. The Ravens, listen, I think the defense will be a lot better with Minter. I still stand by them needing an evolution of Lamar Jackson and this offense. What does that look like? I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar season as like 23, but again, in the most meaningful moments, can that offense transcend? Can they have, this elevation? That is really all you're looking at the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson through. Can they elevate and be great in the playoffs? But I imagine they're going to be significantly better throughout the regular season, especially as long as Lamar's better. And I do believe Jesse Minter will significantly improve that defense. I think Harbaugh's a bit of an overrated coach, to be honest with you. That's just my take. The Packers and the Bears. The Packers just have to stay healthy, man. And now they did lose their great defensive coach. And I don't know what that means. They do have a lot of the bodies, but again, Micah injury, Kraft injury and whatnot. Golden didn't end up like lighting the league on fire necessarily. I'm a huge believer in Matt LaFleur, a huge believer in Jordan Love, but I'm yet to see them take that next step. They haven't taken that next step at all, honestly. They haven't even improved. They haven't. There's been no forward momentum. There's been no true evolution even. And I'm a huge believer in Matt LaFleur and a huge believer in Jordan Love, but I still haven't seen that evolution yet. And that was even highlighted in the playoffs. Because if Micah was there and if Kraft was there, it would look differently. And that's true. But they still should have won that game if there was an evolution of just Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love together. And there wasn't. And yet they still should have beaten the Bears. And so that's what continues to confuse me about that operation over there. And the Chicago Bears. I'm a massive believer in Caleb and Ben Johnson. And I think they're going to take a huge step forward. Their O-line was elite last year, top in the NFL in pass block and run blocking. I mean, Ben Johnson was unbelievable. And Caleb Williams showed what can make him great. And I just made a whole video about this earlier today, where it's like, as long as Caleb Williams starts to consistently hit the layups, we're looking at essentially the 2018 Kansas City Chiefs offense. Like, that is what what I predict from the Chicago Bears. The Kansas City Chiefs, I can't do anything with them right now because I don't know how healthy Patrick Mahomes is going to be. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs, as long as Patrick Mahomes is healthy, will always be a great team, will always be a top team, will always float around between being, top team in the NFL and just being a true top contender that you don't want to face because of Mahomes, Andy, Spags, etc. But I think even how they played last year when Nick said that they weren't good enough, etc., despite Mahomes being injured and all of that, or not trying to put the blame on Mahomes' injury for that. I think that they were actually better than what they showed last year. I don't think we saw a great season out of Mahomes. And again, we could talk about O-line issues and whatnot, and some receiver suspensions and any of that type of stuff. But I do think they were better than what their record showed. I do believe that. I don't think it was a good season for Patrick Mahomes. I do think it was a true down year, and it wasn't just his stats. I think he did not play great. He did not have a great season. He was not making great throws. Like, he wasn't making great plays. I'm interested to see how he bounces back from that. I would have been interested to see how he bounces back from that just if he was 100% healthy. But now he's rehabbing and recovering, which is just a totally, completely different journey. And it's not that I don't think that he'll bounce back or that he won't be great. It's just I don't know if we'll be able to immediately do it starting in September and October. These things do take time. They just do, no matter who you are. It takes a minute. And so I just don't know. But I'm certainly not downplaying and the Kansas City Chiefs or having a lack in belief in them, because I just think, as I've said this virtually in every single Kansas City Chiefs take, as long as you got Andy, as long as you got Spags, as long as you got Mahomes, you're just always going to be dangerous. That floor alone is always going to be elevated. So just the way I see it right now. And then the Broncos, Bills, and Jags. It's kind of funny because if you look at the Broncos, Bills, Jags, Rams, Seahawks, the way how the season ended, obviously the Seahawks winning, and obviously, arguably the most exciting game of the playoffs was probably the Rams and the Seahawks. They're just such a uniquely matched team, and Stafford and McVay's ability to get after that Seahawks defense in a way that other teams seemingly couldn't. I mean, you talk about it being a play away with the Rams. You could say that the same thing about the Bills. I mean, look what the Broncos did against the Bills, or excuse me, the Broncos did against the Patriots. Like, it's not hard to imagine that the Bills would have beat the Patriots pretty good, and that Josh Allen would have been able to go off in that game and not look at all how it looked in the 2 regular season games. And then I believe that Josh Allen would have looked a lot better than Drake May in the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, do I think that the Bills would have beaten the Seattle Seahawks? I think the Seattle Seahawks were just simply the best team in the NFL this year, both offensively, defensively, coaching. They were just so locked in. Their health, for the most part, was also, through the roof. They were a very healthy team as well. Sam was playing his best ball. I do, and I don't think that Bills defense was as good as, say, the Patriots defense. But do I think that offense could have put more pressure on Sam? Sure, but I also think that Sam could have torched that defense as well, like we saw Bo Nix and the Broncos do. So I think at the end of the day, it makes sense to have the Seahawks in their own separate tier. But then at this point, I would put the Rams, the Broncos, the Bills, and the Jags all in the same thing. And it is kind of interesting, though, because it's like, I'm not trying to just base it off of what we just witnessed, but what you think moving forward. I'd be surprised if we saw a same year that Stafford and the Rams just had, at least offensively. I still think that the Rams are going to be a top team in the NFL, an elite team, but like, can Stafford stay fully healthy again for a full season? Will he throw for 40 plus touchdowns again? Like, I find that hard to believe. I could see them having a similar season to what we saw them have in 24 and not 23. I guess it was 24. What was the year? I think it was 23, I guess I'm thinking I'm getting confused with 22. 23 when they lost to the Lions in the divisional round, I think that was, or wild card round, I can't keep up. I see it more similar to that season, to those seasons than what we just saw last year. This past season, they seemingly looked like the best team and the most trustworthy team and the most dominant team. If you had to pick, who do you think was the most dominant team in the NFL? I think a lot of people would have picked the Rams and the confidence level in them as well, because of what we were seeing Stafford and McVay and Puka and Devontae do just week after week after week. You combine that with the experience and the trust level that people just did not simply have with Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. I question if that will continue going into this next season. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I would just find it a little bit more surprising, which is why I predict more of like a 23-24 type season where they're great. They can win. You're not signing up to play them in the playoffs, but I don't know if they maybe strike as much fear or uncomfortableness as they did this season. I think that's all the teams. Yeah. I think the Jags and the Broncos are going to continue to be great. I think the Jags will take another step forward. Excited to see what Liam Cohen and Trevor have in store for year 2. Bo Nix, from my understanding, his injury should be pretty straightforward with also just repairing the bone, which is more just about integrity and healing rather than like the ligaments and the integrity of like a tendon and scar tissue. A bone is going to be a lot different than, say, like an ACL, MCL, meniscus, any of that type stuff. So it should be a lot more straightforward of a recovery process for Bo Nix, but you never know. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Nick's way too early 2026 tiers? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, so it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.